Hi everyone, I'm Greg, Bioinformatter on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Moxfield, Blue Sky, and Bioinformatter underscore actual on Threads and Instagram. And this is my first bundle for the Magic the Gathering Wilds of Eldraine set that's just releasing. And I already opened my single pre-release kit. Okay, so 20. It's got the land packs in here. It's got a spin down counter. It's got 8 set boosters, 2 reference cards, an alt art traditional foil Lich Knight's Conquest, and a fancy box. And one of the features of this set is that there is an there are Enchanting Tales cards in every pack, so that's very similar to what they did with Strixhaven, with the Mystical Archives. So they're cool reprints, with fancy art. So we're getting one of those per pack, and there's a pretty decent selection of good cards there. So we'll see how that does. Inside the box is just plain, so I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so we got the Ginger Brute running away. And a little thing about what roles are available. This doesn't tell you what they do exactly, but from the storytelling perspective, these are the gingerbread emojis for this. So there's the young hero, there's the sorcerer, there's royal, there's wicked, there's monster, and cursed. So those are all, these roles are enchantment aura tokens that you can put on creatures. Like only one can be on a creature at a time. So that's a new mechanic in the set. Okay, so we got our fancy box. So there's the punch out counter structural component of making the box look bigger. So there's art. There may be upkeep reminders. There's counters. I have to figure out what these represent. I'm not sure what kind of counter that is. There's the apple. So that we have those off to the side. Okay, we have our 2 land packs. I'm not even going to bother opening them up. But this is the Lich Knight's Conquest special foil card here. This is the spin down we got, so this actually matches with what I got from the pre-release pack. Okay, so there's our set symbol. Here's the mini version that came with my oops. Come on. Just had it. Okay. There we are. Okay. So the big one and the mini-me versions. Now there may be more than one color, I'm not sure. I have one other booster box to open. We'll see how that goes. Now here are our packs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these are set boosters. So now, since we're not just with the draft packs from the pre-release, there's probably additional kinds of shiny, spiffy, alternate art treatments in here. I think there's probably continuing the tradition of the art cards. Yes. Karmic Justice. Aha, the Green Knight kind of tail going on there. We have a land. Warehouse Tabby. Gnawing Crescendo. Harried Spearguard. Rat Out. Up the Beanstalk. Troyan Gutsy Explorer. So tap, add blue and green, green and blue. Spend this mana only to cast spells with mana value 5 or greater, or spells with X in their mana costs. And blue, you can tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. Tempest Heart. So there's a lot of adventures in this set. So the adventure side is an instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. And then you exile it, and you cast it from exile to get back the creature, the elemental elk, which will have trample, and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Tempest Heart. Comes in as 3/4. Court of Embereth. So more courts. When Court of Embereth enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 3/1 Red Knight creature token. Then, if you're the monarch, Court of Embereth deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control. That sounds good. Food Fight. Artifacts you control have 2. Sacrifice this artifact. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight you control. Okay. Our Enchanting Tales is Mana Flare. So whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produced. So it's symmetrical, so it doesn't just help you out, it helps out your opponents. Ooh, okay, so this one's nice. Fiery Emancipation, Enchanting Tales in foil. So if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to the permanent or player instead. So that's a good card. And the token is an Onid Adventure. It's a way to kind of mark your adventures in exile as being things that you can recast, that you can cast on the other side, as opposed to other cards that you just are forced to exile for reasons. Okay. So we have a Sleep Cursed Fairy as the art card. Swamp. Edgewall Pack. Armory Mice. Ratcatcher Trainee. Obira Dreaming Duelist. So, flash flying. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Fairy fencing. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. That creature gets an additional -3/-3 till end of turn if you control the fairy as you cast the spell. Dream spoilers. Flying, whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Fairy Dream Thief. So flying, and when it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. And 2 and a black, you can exile it from your graveyard, and you draw a card, and you lose a life. Okay. So here's a borderless land treatment. So that actually looks pretty cool. Restless Spire. So the land cycle in this is about the lands turning into creatures and doing stuff. So the Restless Spire enters the battlefield tapped. Add blue or red. You can pay blue and red, and until end of turn, Restless Spire becomes a 2/1 blue and red elemental creature token. With as long as it's your turn, this creature has first strike. It's still a land, and whenever it attacks, scry 1. So I don't know where those fit in the hierarchy of value in lands. Kellen Fey-Blooded. So a mythic, so that's good. I don't know if it's a, let's see, Birthright Boon. So on the adventure side, search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay, so you get to tutor. And if you cast this from exile, you're going to get double strike, a double strike 2/2, where other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen the Fey-Blooded. So Voltron Kellen and get your other creatures buffed up. As Foretold is the Enchanting Tale. So this one's rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on As Foretold. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast with mana value X or less, where X is the number of time counters on As Foretold. And our foil is a uncommon, Witch Stalker Frenzy. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn. And it deals 5 damage to target creature. And there's a minigame token. A little hydration break there. Okay. A foil stamped. Ego Drain. Ego Drain. So that's kind of some stunning artwork. A foil swamp. Living Lectern. Unassuming Sage. Merry Bards. Solitary Sanctuary. When it enters battlefield, target creature and opponent controls, tap target creature and opponent controls, and put stun counter on it. Whenever you tap an untapped creature and opponent controls, put a +1/+1 counter on the target creature you control. Bitter Chill. Enchant creature, and when it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature does not untap during its controller's untap step. When Bitter Chill is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do, scry 1, then draw a card. Tenacious Tome Seeker. So this has got the Bargain, which is a new mechanic. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast this spell. And when it enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Fairy Slumber Party. Return all creatures to their owner's hands. For each opponent who controlled a creature returned this way, you create 2 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. Wow. So that's like Cyclonic Rifty type of deal, almost, but not quite. Thunderous Debut. So it's a sorcery with bargain. Look at the top 20 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If this spell was bargained, put the revealed cards onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put the revealed cards into your hand, then shuffle. Curiosity. So, Enchanted Tales version of things. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Rest in Peace. So another Enchanted Tales in the same pack. When Rest in Peace enters the battlefield, exile all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So that's really mean for against any deck that has a graveyard strategy. Experimental Confectioner. Human Peasant. So this is our foil. When the Confectioner enters the battlefield, create a food token, and whenever you sacrifice a food, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. And there's a birdie as our token. Cooped Up. So that's pretty art. That fairy is none too pleased at being caged. Okay, here is one of the full art planes. Flick a coin. Not flip it, flick it. Cut in. Twinveil Guide. Bespoke Battle Garb. Okay. Collector's Vault. So 2 tap, draw a card, and then discard a card. Create a treasure token. Okay. Frolicking Familiar. An Otter Wizard. So the adventure side is an instant blow off steam. It deals 1 damage to any target. And when you cast the Otter Wizard from exile, it's got flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Frolicking Familiar gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Hearth Elemental. So another adventure. Stoke Genius. Sorcery, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. And then when you cast the actual elemental from exile, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard that are instant cards, sorcery cards, and or have an adventure. So there are creatures that have adventures, so they would count. And then you're getting a 4/5 out of that. Johann, Apprentice Sorcerer. Human Wizard, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from the top of your library. You still pay all costs. Timing rules still apply. Redcap Gutter Dweller. It's rare. Menace. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Redcap Gutter Dweller and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. It's a lot going on there. Ground Seal is the Enchanted Tales card here. When Ground Seal enters the battlefield, draw a card. Cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities. Freeze in Place is our foil. So tap target a creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Scry 2. And a advertisement token. Eerie Interference is the art card. A foil island. Unassuming Sage. Mary Bards. Shatter the Oath. Ariette's Whisper. Prophetic Prism. Solitary Sanctuary. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Beta Chill. Yeah, so another kind of... Okay, so when it enters the battlefield, tap an enchanted... Oh. Okay. So it's enchant creature. So you're putting it on a creature, and then when Bitter Chill enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. And when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do scry 1, then draw a card. Tenacious Tome Seeker. I think we covered that. Moonshaker Cavalry. So flying, and when it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying and get +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this is a token overrun. You know, this is like they're calling it the White Craterhoof. So that's a good pull, I think. I have no clue what the values are yet, but I think that one is probably safely a good card. Raid Bombardment for an Enchanted Tail here. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, Raid Bombardment deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Now, the foil is Boundary Lands Ranger, which is an uncommon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with a power 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Here is the Royal and Young Hero Aura rolls that are new to this set. A Leaping Ambush. Here's the art. An island. Flick a coin. Cut in. Toonvale Guide. Bespoke Battle Garb. Brandball Guest. Fairy Fencing. Dream Spoilers. Fairy Dream Thief. Tangled Colony. So this is rare. It's a rat. It can't block. And when it dies, create X11 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. And where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. Vampiric Rites. So 1 in a black, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life, and draw a card. Taken by Nightmares. Exile target creature. If you control an enchantment, scry 2. And another advertisement token. Okay, last 2 packs here. Okay, here's a Green Knight-ish scene. Karmic Justice. This art card. A forest. Not dead after all. Conceited Witch. Torch the Tower. Frolicking Familiar. Hearth Elemental. Johann Apprentice Sorcerer. Court of Embereth. Court of Vantress. Okay, so the Vantress one is when it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose up to 1 other target enchantment or artifact. If you're the Monarch, you may create a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the Monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. The Apprentice's Folly. So we get a Saga. 1 and 2 are choose target non-token creature you control that doesn't have the same name as a token you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary, is a reflection in addition to its other types, and has haste. And 3 is sacrifice all reflections you control. Mana Flare. So I think we start off. Is that in this pack or another? Okay, so yes, we have a second Mana Flare in the same box. We have a common Adventure Grabby Giant as a foil, and a bird token. In our final pack here, okay, our art card is Sleep Cursed Fairy. Full Art Plains. Edgewall Pack. Ratcatcher Trainee. Armory Mice. Flick-a-Coin. High Fae Negotiator. It's got the bargain mechanic on it, and flying. And when High Fae Negotiator enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Soul Guide Lantern. Spellscorn Coven. So the adventure instant. Take it back. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Flying. When Spellscorn Coven enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Knight of Doves. So whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Sentinel of Lost Lore. Elf Knight. When Sentinel enters the battlefield, choose 1 or more. Return target creature you own in exile that has an adventure to your hand. Put target card you don't own in exile that has an adventure on the bottom of its owner's library. Or exile target player's graveyard. Okay, we have another Curiosity as our Enchanted Tale. Gnawing Crescendo is our foil. And Fairy Artisans is our list card. So, flying, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Then exile all other tokens created with Fairy Artisans. So it might be worth something. So yeah, that's the first bundle from Eldraine. I think value-wise, I think I'm guessing that's a money card. We'll see how the things shake out. Don't know what usually the borderless versions of the lands are worth at least a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if those courts are a big deal or not. But this is definitely a nice hit. Um, and as well, we got Crown Seal. So rest in peace. I don't know that it's that expensive. I may be wrong. But a foil Fiery Emancipation, I'm assuming that's a good hit. So I think it was probably a decent bundle. So I've got another bundle to open up, and then plenty of more. I'm kind of like working my way up in the hierarchy of the haul that I ordered. Um, and I've actually got a game relatively soon, so I should probably take a break from this. But anyhow, thanks for watching the break of my first MTG Wilds of Eldraine bundle, and I shall return with more box break content and hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.